your music for a while,
Well,
and I found you on TikTok I don't know, forever ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've been looking
cool.
for a show to come out to. So it's a little bit of drive, but I'm excited.
Well, I hope you enjoy it. I really do.
Yeah. So you come from a family of musicians. Your dad obviously has been in music for a really long time. So tell me a little bit about what that was like, just like growing up with that around you.
Oh, man. So I was growing up as a kid. I don't know if your parents ever went on road trips all the time, or for work trips or whatever. It's always like, what'd you get me when you got back? Kind of thing. And it was just kind of became a part of my childhood. Like my dad would be gone for a few weeks at a time, a couple of weeks at a time, this and that. And to me, it was just normal. And then like at points he would miss birthdays, he'd miss holidays or something sometimes. Rarely, but every once in a while. And it didn't hurt my feelings. I know Dad had to do what he had to do to work, and I thought it was really cool. My dad was playing music and all this, and I felt like it was really cool. You know, my dad has a cool job, kind of thing. But growing up, I didn't really want to pursue that. And I mean, I know how often my dad was not at the house, and it wasn't really something I was interested in. I was kind of shy kid. Like I didn't like performing or singing in front of people or anything like that. And I was big into basketball. I played basketball. And so that was my passion at the time. And it wasn't until like my sophomore year of college, junior year of college, where I kind of branched out, started doing music. But as a family of musicians, especially when you get to do what you love with your family, is the best part about it. Like me and my brother go travel all the time to these different places together. It's like having your best friend along with you. Yeah. Just hanging out and just, you know, having a good time, goofing around all the time. And so that's a blessing in itself. And then having our dad be able to be a part of it when as often as he can. He plays our bass for us, when he's available. Now tonight he's not playing with us because he's playing for, Janie Fricky. She was big in the 70s. Okay. He plays piano as his main primary instrument. And so he's playing piano for her tonight, and then he plays bass for us. But it's great having a family, you know, like a family band. Yeah. Essentially. Did you perform at all, like as a family or solo when you were younger? So I was in children's choir at church and sang there. I was always embarrassed to go up there and sing, but I did anyway. And, so my grandfather took tickets at this, little Opry in Texarkana called the Oaklawn Opry. It's no longer a thing. It's a church now, but, Jake played there a couple times, and, our good friend Henry Matthews owned the place, and my grandpa took tickets there every Saturday night, and it was Saturday night, right? Yeah, Saturday nights. And so when my dad was gone, my mom taught dance when I was growing up. She still does. And so mom was off doing that on the weekends. My dad was traveling. I would hang out with grandma and grandpa. And so we'd go out and listen to old country music. These old guys play country music. And occasionally when my dad was in town, he would play. But, eventually, getting back to your question, I would go and sing harmony for them. And, cause I was too afraid to be up in front of everybody. Yeah. So I would sit back in the back and sing harmony with whoever was singing, and they would let me up there. And so that's the extent of my performing as a young kid. Yeah. Okay. So when did you said you were going to college. I know you studied history. Yeah. You wanted to be a coach. So when did this switch come to where you're like, I want to write songs and I want to perform on stage? Oh man. So that's a long story, but, if you got time, I'll tell you. Got time. My junior year of college, so in one of my education classes, I had one of my good buddies. His name was Zach Fairchild, and he was a music major and history major, or not history, music major and education major, like dual major. And he sang in our chapel choir, and so he had a bunch of music major roommates. And we went and hung out in his dorm one time, and him and his music major roommates were messing around. And I picked up a guitar and like sang a couple or whatever. They're like, "You can sing?" I was like, "I don't know. I guess so." I don't know. And man, we had this thing called Java Jam coming up in one of the residence halls. Like, you should come and play a song with us. I was like, "Man, I don't know. Like this, I don't know." And like, "Man, come on, let's do it." I was like, "I don't think so. I don't think it's a good idea." And the day of Java Jam to come around, they finally taught me into it. And so I sang the day of.
Oh
they
my
taught me
gosh.
into it. And I sang You Look So Good in Love by George Strait.
Classic.
And crushed. And it was the best feeling ever.
Oh, I love that.
And it was so much fun. And so ever since then, that's all I've wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And luckily my family's been in music. And so I've had the backing of that. And Dad's had a bunch of random music equipment lying around that we've been fortunate to be able to use.
Yeah.
And didn't have to spend our own money on. So that was really cool. Mm-hmm. And I knew a few things just being around it growing up. And so it kind of just, in a way, came naturally. I wouldn't say supernaturally, but supernaturally. But, it did come supernaturally in a way, just the timing and everything.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I'm not the most technical, what should I say? Rhythmically talented person in the world. Mm. That's my brother got that. And, I was just happened to be creative and been fortunate to be able to able to sing.
Yeah.
And, my brother's a way better musician than I am. And, I give him most of the props. He's one of the main reasons I'm doing what I'm doing today. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be able to do it without him for sure. And, I just am creative, write songs, and have been fortunate, been blessed to be able to sing. That's the extent of my music prowess.
Yeah. So when did you start writing songs? Was it like after that first performance, you were like, okay, I'm going to start writing songs, or had you written songs before that?
So I went through a really bad breakup in college. And we were dating for a long time. And, it kind of became an outlet for me. Like, I guess I had to put it somewhere. And so I wrote one song. It wasn't great. I think I was trying too hard to be too lyrical with it. And, then the second song I wrote was Dallas, the first song we put out.
Right.
And it was based about that relationship. And it just became an outlet for me. It just kept stuck with it. It was my senior year of college, I think, by the time I wrote my first song. Mm-hmm. And, it became therapeutic in a way. Just kind of, in my mind, it's not music if it doesn't make you feel something. And so I try to speak as honestly as I can in my music.
Yeah.
You know? So that's kind of how it
So when it comes to songwriting, like, is it the lyrics that come first? Is it the melody? Does it kind of all come out at once while you're picking around? Like, what's your process?
It kind of comes out at once, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Mainly probably the lyrics. I'm a big lyrically minded person because I'm not a phenomenal musician, if we're being honest. And so I've always been a decent writer, just growing up, English class and stuff like that. And so I'm really passionate about being descriptive and stuff. And I like artists that have well-written songs, like the guys from Turnback Troubadours, who I gain a lot of inspiration from.
Yeah.
Writing lines and everything. But I would say, like, there would be times I'm sleeping. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and the lyrics will just kind of hit me in the head. I'll have to write this down real quick. Or I'll be in the shower or something like that. So but I kind of find it easy for the melody to kind of come with it in a way. But I don't know.
Bet your notes app goes crazy.
My notes app is insane. It's full of one-liners, a couple words, half-written songs, all this and that. And I'm not an organized person at all, and so it's a mess in there.
Yeah. So who are some of your inspirations? Who did you grow up listening to? Who do you pull inspiration from in your music?
So I'm huge into classic country. Like I kind of nerd out about that, like 60s, 70s, 80s country. And I love 90s country as well, but my music doesn't directly reflect that. But that's what I love to listen to. I would say my music's maybe more borderlines on like 90s country maybe, or kind of red dirt too.
Yeah.
But I have like my Mount Rushmore of musicians that are, that I draw most of my inspiration from. It's Merle Haggard is one of my top 4. Keith Whitley, Alan Jackson, and George Strait. Those are my big 4.
Solid.
And of course I love like Travis Tritt probably would be 5th and just guys like that. But, big into older country. And I didn't get into the Texas red dirt country until I was probably in college. And I was introduced to that by some college buddies. And then I got really heavy into that. But, I love all that stuff.
Yeah. One thing that I've through this publication that I have and just talking to different musicians and people that love music, it's such an interesting time right now with country music as far as like all the different subgenres. And you've kind of got this Nashville country thing going on that, a lot of us are trying to drift away from. And one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of the Nashville country, there isn't that dancing rhythm behind it. I can listen to your songs and hear, a two-step or a waltz or whatever. And like, a lot of those Nashville artists, not like calling anybody out, but like if you were to put them in a dance hall, you may not be able to dance to that music. And I think that's where a lot of the classic country comes in, is just having that foundation that it's like, you don't have to sound exactly like Hank Williams, but like it's still got that classic beat and instruments and everything.
And that's why I drifted more towards the Texas country side of things, because it's more modern and it's constantly being updated. Obviously newer artists here and there, but it's got that, it's still a lot of roots attached to it. Still goes, a lot of that still goes back to the classical roots, like your Ernest Tubbs or your, I wouldn't say he's classical, but Johnny Bush and, guys like that from the classic country days. And so Tony Booth, love like that. But anyway, it's as close to the 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s country that I grew up listening to as you can get for the modern day. Anyway.
Yeah.
Besides like guys like Zach Top, of course. But.
Right. So I want to talk about your newest song, "And Up to Quit," which is my favorite one you've dropped so far.
No way. Okay, I'm glad
really
you said
like
that.
it.
It's super niche, and so I was in my mind, I kind of knew I wasn't going to do like the numbers others would, but the song kind of meant a lot to me. So.
Well, and I'm a lyrics person too, and I look at it as like, I can see how it's super relatable for musicians, but I'm even listening to it as a photographer who drives all over Texas for these concerts and shows and then works my 9 to 5 and then hits the road as soon as I'm done.
Well, I'm really glad you like it.
Yeah. And I feel like it's relatable to, a lot of different industries. So tell me a little bit about how that song came about.
Yeah. So if we're being honest, it was kind of when Zach Bryan was real big, is when I wrote that song. I wrote the song a while ago, and I just recently put it out because I'm slow to get it set up, but try to be better about that. But the inspiration hit me from like one of those early Zach Bryan songs, and that's kind of how it was supposed to go. And then it got kind of a bluegrassy itch, and it just kind of morphed into more of a folky bluegrassy song.
Yeah, that's what hit me at the beginning. Is like, as soon as you hear that fiddle, I was like, I like this.
Yeah. And I was fortunate enough I don't know why, but we're releasing it in the fall, and bluegrass music reminds me of the fall, and so like, well, that's perfect. So that's great. But lyrically, it came out of frustration. Just I wasn't growing like I wanted to. I wasn't playing venues that I wanted to play when I felt like I could play. Like I was on the same caliber as musicians that were playing at that venue. It's like, well, why am I not doing this? I was teaching at the time. I still am teaching. If you didn't know, I took a day off to come over here.
Oh yeah.
And we're still trying to make it enough to quit.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a process.
Yeah.
But that's how it came out.
Yeah. I also really love the live album that you dropped.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the first.
Cause I like live albums. It's giving like Parker, like early Limestone Kid,
I think we could have done a lot better with it personally, so I'm glad you like it.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the process of that, because I was looking on your website and it was talking about like the 3 cities that you went to. So did you like record all the songs in each city, or did you like have a few songs in different ones? Like, how did that go?
So it was a heck of a setup, and luckily my dad knows a lot about that kind of stuff.
I know. I always think about that with live albums. I'm like, how the heck do you record that? Because if you record it on your phone or anything else, it's just like bass.
We don't have the highest tech gear in the world. And so it was a lot of wires and a lot of setting this up before the show. And it was a painstaking process. And we played, we recorded all of our 3-hour sets from each of these venues or 2 hours, whatever it may have been, and just picked the best ones we felt from those, and whether they were super great or not, and mixed it the best we could with what we had, and we put it out there because I felt like I needed to have something out there. I hadn't released something in a while, and it's like, well, people are waiting for some songs. I want to put some songs out, and so I felt that was the best way to get something out.
Yeah, well, it's hard too, because like with TikTok provides a really cool platform for artists to get discovered pretty quickly. But then you've got all these people and you're like, shoot, they looked me up on Spotify, and it's like, where's all my music? So I get that because I've heard that from a lot of artists. Is like they'll play their originals on TikTok, and everyone immediately is like, where's it on Spotify? And you're like, hold on, wait, I'm working on it.
It's a lot longer process than it may seem.
Yeah.
Because you gotta get the musicians you put on there have to have time. The producer you have to have, or wherever you have recording your stuff has to have time to go in there and mix and master it and everything.
Yeah.
And
well, and you want to make sure it's something that you're ready to release and something you're proud of. You don't want to just like throw it out there.
Exactly. So. And that's a hard process for me to take as well. Cause I like to have stuff happen pretty quick. And a lot of times I'm not as patient as I should be.
Yeah.
And so, but now we've learned we're trying to be as patient as we can, get the best product out there as we can. And so, big stuff coming up soon. So I'm excited for y'all to hear what we have.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is this like a taste of a studio album?
Yes. So we have some big stuff coming out. Some like doesn't scratch the surface of what we've put out, because our best stuff is yet to be put out. And so I'm excited for y'all to hear it. Not that the stuff we have out is bad, but it's kind of our first go at stuff, you know? And so I feel like a lot more of our, I wouldn't say polished, but more polish and process makes it sound like it's manufactured, but if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. The production side of things, there's a lot that goes into that. Yeah. I'm going to need a studio version of Bad Country Songs.
You'll get it. That's it. Okay. If you can spoil something real quick.
If you're allowed to.
That's going to be our next release.
Or off the record,
that's going to be our next release. So I'm excited to.
Yay. Although I will say I like the Canes shout out at the beginning. As someone who's very obsessed with Canes.
Blazing Canes is huge in Texarkana. Like.
Really?
Huge. I don't know why. Like, it's great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's got like 4 options. And it's like, that's it. Once you've had it, you've had it.
Yeah.
And so we got a Canes like 6-7 years ago. And ever since then, it's line wrapped around the building every day. Like people go nuts for it. And so I had enough time to write a song.
There you go.
In line. And, that's how it happened. I don't know. It was
I literally didn't try Canes until college. Because I come from like a yellow light town where Subway was our only restaurant.
Yeah.
And so I got to college and I went to freshman year. I was at Sam Houston State and there's nothing in Huntsville. Yeah. My friends are like, have you ever tried Canes? And ever since then, it's like, I'm obsessed. I love it.
Oh yeah.
You might be sick of it, but I'm
not sick. I had it last week. Fair. But it's just something real easy and quick to get. I love the lemonade. I'm a big lemonade guy.
Classic.
It's so easy to do it, just to get and take home if you're in a bind. But.
Yeah. So you've been playing a lot of shows. You've got a lot of shows already booked. Like you've already got shows in May.
I'm trying
what is your favorite venue you've played at so far?
11th Street Cowboy Bar in Bandera, Texas.
I was hoping you'd say that. I love Bandera. Oh my word.
It's like a magical place.
Yeah. Cause I do real estate and I had to shoot a property out there, and our agent that I was shooting for, he was like, when you're done, like go explore. And so I went around and.
You've been to Archie Blues?
Huh?
You've been to Archie Blues?
No.
Silver Dollar.
Oh yeah.
Saloon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to, if you haven't checked that out, you need to check it out. But, real cool, like basement. Sawdust on the old school.
I did go down there, yeah.
Texas Swing Bar.
I can't remember what it's called.
The 11th Street had me hooked since we played there. And shout out to D. Foster, the owner of 11th Street. He treats us so nice every time we're there. And we're not near yet at the caliber of people he has playing there all the time. And so he put his trust in us, and we delivered. And I can't thank him and his support enough. He has us out there at least twice a year. So
yeah. That's awesome. It's such a cool town. If y'all are ever back there, let me know, because I
absolutely
will.
We'll have you shoot for us.
Yeah.
So it's a great
the Silver Dollar Bar, that's what it's called, right? Yeah, when I was exploring, I like walked past the door and I was like, that looks interesting. I'm like by myself.
Yeah,
and I go down there and it was
unassuming.
like these little old folks around a table smoking, and then they come in and they're like, well, hey, like come on out. Yeah. And then they're like, you want to see where Hank Williams carved his name on the wall? Come on, I'll show you. Like, oh my gosh, I love it. I was in heaven.
I think Jake told me, if that's correct, he's on here right now for me to fact check this, but you know Johnny Bush's song, Green Snakes? It was written in that bar. There's green snakes on the ceiling at that bar.
No way.
Yeah, so anyway.
That's so
there's
cool.
a green snake, something like that. Jake can tell it better than I can, but if you're ever in Bandera, Texas, and you go to Archie Blues, you need to
I need to take like a full trip out there, because I was only there for like a few hours. But
really? What were you doing out there? Real estate, you said?
Real estate, yeah. I was just shooting a property and I had like 2 hours before I headed back.
Such a cool place.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's how we met these guys. So these guys that we're opening for tonight was right before the headline. It was it was like 4 different music groups. We opened the day up. Then it was Case Harden, David Allen Burns, and then Will Bannister closed the night out.
Okay.
Crushed it. But we were just done with our set and we were walking around. The owner, was showing us around a few different places. They just opened up a new store downtown. And I got a text from Eddie, David's steel player. He said, "Hey, man, we're at this bar down the road and we're about to go up and play some music. We need a singer. You want to come and sing for us?" I was like, "Absolutely, dude." And so me and Ben head over there and Ben sings harmony and I got my guitar and sang. I was like, "This is a blast." And so we bonded with those guys and asked High Horse if we could open for them, and they said yes, and that was a wrap.
And here we are.
Here we are.
That's awesome.
Super cool place. Super cool place.
That's super cool. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is I love how open you are with your faith, and that's something that's really important to me. I was listening to the podcast you did and just like loved all the conversations that y'all had.
I'm horrible at podcasts, so I'm glad you
No, you did great. I have
so many all that kind of stuff.
I was on a podcast for the first time a few weeks ago and I was so anxious about it, but it's not as hard when you have a host that you just enjoy talking to and then you're like, okay. But yeah, I just think that's really cool. And I think I found that it's a little bit easier to be open about your faith in the country music scene as opposed to other genres.
For sure.
But it still is something that like you have to be bold in. And like, I'm just curious how your walk with the Lord, how that incorporates into your music and like how you do things and live your life.
No doubt. I definitely try my best not to put any lyrics in a song that doesn't reflect who I am. Like rarely will you hear a song about me getting drunk, get out all right. And I know that's maybe cliche or whatever, but that's just kind of what I'm about. Mm-hmm. If anything, I'll write songs about not drinking or trying not to. And, cause it's a country song. You gotta put something about beer in there. And, none of my guys will drink on stage. You don't see any of my guys drinking or anything on stage. It's just not, I don't want to be out publicly doing that. Not that there's anything wrong with having a drink or two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Depending on what side of the line you sit on that. But, we're not super rowdy, anything like that. I pick guys on my team that I trust to behave themselves and most of my guys, all my guys in the band are Christian faith. And so we try to live up to that as the best we can. Jake plays at his church. We play at our church when we're home.
Yeah.
My dad plays bass for us as a music minister at our church. And so it's one of those things.
Yeah, it's cool. It's been interesting because when I started doing this, my parents were obviously like parent mode and they're like, you're at bars and honky tonks till 2 a.m. every weekend. Like we're worried and trying to find the ministry in that, but also being like, God, I don't want to have to put Bible verses in every Instagram. So like, how do I honor you with my work? But also, you know, like you said, not every single song has to be about Jesus, but it's just like walking the walk and being a good example. And I found that like for me, like God has been putting all these people in my path that are like-minded, whether it be photographers, other musicians, like, I don't know if you've met like Hudson Westbrook and his guy, but like, I interviewed him like August and we were all like back in the green room and then just like started talking about God and I was like, oh, you guys are okay, cool. Love that. Like, it's really cool.
That's good to hear. I like that.
Yeah. And it's cool because I think that the Lord honors that. And I've seen him like Cody Johnson is an incredible example of that, of like, when you honor God and what you do, he gives you a platform and like, that's really cool.
And I don't deserve anything that I've been given, like, as far as music, like I shouldn't, in my mind, so many opportunities have been put in front of us that I feel like I don't deserve or we shouldn't have. Like I spoke a second ago how like I'm not an incredible musician. I just happen to be blessed enough to be able to sing, you know, and that's just what it is. Like God's put me in these situations for a reason, whether I definitely don't deserve it, you know. And weird things will happen. Like people call me and people I haven't talked to in forever. like, hey man, I felt like I need to reach out to you and say like, hey, you're doing great stuff. Keep up with doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, a guy at Whiskey River in Texarkana said, hey man, I feel like I put it on my heart to say something to you and tell me to keep up the good work. And this and that. I'm like, oh, that's crazy.
It's so cool when God gives you those little things that are just like confirmation, like you're exactly where you need to be. Like that's really cool.
It's insane because in the back of my mind, I was like, I haven't done anything to deserve this, but that's just how amazing God is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's so loving and so like he has a plan for you no matter what.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a little emotional, but it's really
and he
cool.
cares about the things we care about. I think that's what's so awesome about God too, is like he gives us these passions for a reason. And I've told my parents that a bunch of like, I will go to work and like I enjoy my job and it's fine, but I'll come home from 2 a.m. at a concert and I can't sleep because I'm just like so excited and happy. I feel like the Lord gives us those passions, and there's ways that like he uses that. And sometimes it's just that he just wants us to be happy. And
that's crazy. Yeah, I'll never understand it.
Yeah. So I like that you have a background appreciation for like classic country music. A conversation that I've been having with a lot of people recently is just what is it that brings people back to classic country? And like we've seen that with like everyone freaking out about Zach Top, rightfully so, and like the 90s country vibe. And then you've got Charlie Crockett and all these people that are like bringing back all of this classic country. What is it, do you think, about that specific genre that people just always go back to?
I think it's the honesty of it. I feel like that kind of music is very honest. Like it's very, a lot of those songs are written out of what they felt, and at the time. And they make you feel a certain way. And I feel like also a lot of those songs aren't what I would call manufactured. They're guys playing music.
Mm-hmm.
They're guys, talented guys that are it's not overdubbed. It's not skewed a certain way in the mixing mastering process. It's not auto-tuned. It's just guys playing music the way, in my opinion, it should be.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's heartfelt music. And that's just, and a lot of times the lyrics reflect that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big lyric guy personally. I'll listen to the lyrics before I listen to a guy playing a guitar lick or something like that. Like Jake, my steel player, we're up here listening to music, and he put on something like I couldn't understand a word the guy was saying, but he was just listening to the steel player.
Yeah,
because he loves the steel player. I was like, dude, listen to that. I was like, that's great. I don't know what this guy's saying at all.
I know. I will never understand. I have friends that are like, they'll put on music and they're like, I don't really listen to the lyrics. What do you mean?
Yeah,
that's like all I listen to.
I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, I do not get that. Well, if you want to like give a little sneak peek of what you've got coming this year, shows, music.
Yeah. Oh man. Tomorrow night we're opening for Peyton Howie in Texarkana. Cool. First time opening for her. Super excited. We have a slow February. We only have a couple shows in February because we're doing a lot of recording. After March and April, we'll hit it pretty hard. So y'all be on the lookout. We'll be in Green Hall April 24th.
I might have to pull up to that one. I love Green Hall. San
Antonio the next Saturday at La Honky Tonk. It's a new place in downtown San Antonio. So super excited about that. So y'all be on the lookout for that. And I don't know. Look on my website. All my dates are on there. Bands in Town, Instagram, TikTok. It's just my name. So I said I'm 2 miles out of